And we're continuing with what we learned yesterday in the Dvar Malchut, which is a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, a whole series of speeches that the Rebbe gave in 1991. The Rebbe spoke like every Shabbat he spoke. All right, so the Rebbe is speaking about Moshiach. That's the topic. That's the main topic in Judaism is Moshiach. That should be the main topic in life. Huh? That's the main topic in life. That's what the news should be about in America, and now what this president did or what this guy did or this is. That's really the only really meaningful thing. And that's what everything is leading up to, right? What's going on in the world and going on in America, and everything's turning over and upside down and craziness and this is it's just leading to Mashiach. Okay, but on the other hand, a person can look at the world and say, I mean, are you serious? Mashiach, that's what we're interested in. The world is terrible. How can you even think about this goody stuff? This, what do they call it? The Pollyanna way of looking at the world, that everything's going to be okay and just think good, just run around, throw daisies, and that's it. Are you really serious? So everybody said, yeah, I'm really serious. But it's not exactly like you said. You just have to be running around doing nothing. You have to do Torah. You have to learn the commandments. You have to learn what God is. You have to think about what God is, and you have to realize that everything that's in the world that is bad, it really, in fact, only seems to be bad. And not because psychologically the way we look at it, even though that certainly is true to us, 98% degree, that if we look at things in a different eye, then things become different. But the fact is, I mean, a lot of things are, people are sick, people are, but in fact, even those things everything's going to transform. It's going to all transform. The whole world will turn over. That people will start to feel the Creator. And every human being will feel that he's being created. And every human being will feel important. And every human being will start following their conscience. And they'll see if their conscience fits with the 7 Noahide commandments. And if it doesn't, then they'll realize that they were okay. The conscience is making a mistake. But the thing is, it's an internal voice that will speak to everyone, a deeply intimate, personal feeling of what is right and what is wrong, what to do in every situation, every person we meet, every moment we're awake, how we sleep, how we eat, to make the world into God's world, a productive place, a novel place, a place where there's initiative, where there's the novelties and things. Okay. He says, here we have an example. This year that Rebbe spoke, Tisha B'Av, the fast of Tisha B'Av fell on Shabbat. This year it doesn't. Tisha B'Av, this year it falls on Wednesday night, Thursday. But it fell on Shabbat. Okay, just the fact that it can be such a thing, the Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, this is a big indication of what's going to be in the future. But Tisha B'Av is the worst of the worst days. I think probably I've said what I'm going to say right now at least 50 times, but I'm going to say it again anyway. That someone wrote to the Rebbe, how can I live after the Holocaust? He went to the Holocaust. So the Rebbe wrote back to him, of course, there's no way to explain this. You can't explain it. But you have to realize that that's been the lot of the Jewish people, that we've suffered and suffered and suffered and suffered, and that we've been hated by the whole world, and that King David was hated by everybody. Moses was hated by everybody. Sometimes people just hate things because they're good. But in any case, there's no real explanation why there has to be the suffering. But, said the Rebbe, if you look at it objectively, you can see that the suffering of the Holocaust, as horrible and shocking to the essence of our soul, it was not as great as the suffering of the destruction of the first and second temple. First of all, it could be that a greater percentage of the Jews were killed, massacred in the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians and the second by means of the Romans. But third, that in the Holocaust, not all the Jews in the world were affected. There were a lot of Jews in America, Jews in South America and Canada, even the Jews that were in Russia. They were not, it took a while until people even knew that there was such a thing as the Holocaust. And when they found out about it, so it was for the Jews in Europe. It didn't happen, which is not the case. The destruction of the first and second temples, every Jew in the world knew about it, and it affected every single Jew in the world. There was not one Jew that was not affected by it. And affected by it in the most severe ways. So this holiday this holiday, one of Tisha B'Av, is the day that the first and second temples were destroyed. This is like, I mean, can you say it? Holocaust multiplied by 2, by 3, by 5. Pain, suffering, depression. Everyone was saying God has left us, God is gone. Luckily, there were the prophets that were there, right? Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, etc. And they were there to say, listen, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it. And then they had the prophecies from before. All the prophecies, we're going to see that after Tisha B'Av, there's 7 weeks of positive prophecies of the Jewish people, most from Isaiah. Positive prophecies about how God is going to gather the Jews together, and God will still loves the Jews, and God will never leave the Jews, and no matter what they do, he's still going to, okay. So, but when is it going to happen? So the Rebbe said, okay, listen, the fact that Tisha B'Av, the worst day of the year, the worst day of history, the worst possible imaginary day you could possibly imagine for anybody, that day can fall on Shabbat. When it does fall on Shabbat, then there's no mourning. There's no mourning. You should be happy and dancing on that day. You should be eating and meat and all the other things which are just the fact that you're eating is something. But in the 9 days, they don't eat meat. So he says that's the idea of Shabbat of Tisha B'Av, shows that it's possible that all of this bad will transform to good. It's possible. And even more, it shows that it's going to happen. It's giving a little taste of what's going to happen. So here we go. Ha'ilui, this elevation that we're talking about. I'll answer the question. Okay. The Eloi, this Shabbat Tisha B'Av, is stressed even more in the eating and the drinking on this day. Kasher yesh no mitzvah, there was a commandment to get pleasure from Shabbat, la'ongo, to make it pleasurable. You're supposed to eat foods on Shabbat that are like really tasty and really good. Dagim gedolim, big fish, basar v'yayin, meat and wine. Ad until shafilu benogea l'suda shlishis, even it says in the third meal, right before, because if Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, so immediately after Shabbat, you start the morning. You start the fasting of it. So even the third meal, which is right before the fast, which the fast would begin on the 10th day, right? If Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. Surah Mafseket, the law is she'ochel basar yishos yayin, that you eat meat and you drink wine on this meal. Umala al shulchan, you take on your table afilu soda shlomo b'shat melchot, even like the meal that King Solomon would eat when he was a king. King Solomon had everything. Roim, so we see from here, Shabbayom Atainis, the day of the fast, when it falls on Shabbat, it has not only shalilat, not only does it remove the bad things, namely that we do eat and we do drink. On Tisha B'Av, you don't eat at all. So not only do we, yes, eat, Elagam be'ikra, and the main thing is hasimcha b'tainug. You have to be happy and get pleasure, sheyeshnom b'achilat basar, that you eat meat and drinking wine, old wine. V'yeshlomo, we can say that on the day of this fast that falls on Shabbat, you have to add on even more than a regular Shabbat in order to show that, listen, after all, it is Tisha B'Av, right? So you don't even think that. Don't even think that. Okay, this year, like we said before, Tisha B'Av falls on Thursday, but still the fact is that when it does fall on Shabbat, and it has a lot of times, it shows that it's possible that the fast day will not only be negated, but it will be transformed. The explanation is, like we said many times, Shetainit, the Pinimiota, that the fast day in its inside is a good thing. Yom Ratzon Hashem, it is a good, pleasing day to God. The Kavana Panim is the internal meaning of a fast is that there will be revealed the good which is hidden inside of the fast, Yavchum, and the fast day will transform to be a day which is good and joy and happiness. Kafi sheyitgaleh, like it will be revealed, Begula Amitit Vashlema, in the future, true and complete redemption. The Inyan of Panimi, the whole inner idea of this fast, will be revealed. Kasher Atainis, when the fast, Chala, when it comes on Shabbat, that then the fast is pushed away. But what's pushed away? Only the bad things of the fast. But the fast day remains. It still is Tisha B'Av, and it still is a fast day, but we only get the good things of the fast day. What's the good things of the fast day? That we're willing to, that the day is devoted to God. We're not doing anything for ourselves. The fast is negated, but the good things of the fast day, Yom Ratzon, that it is a day that is pleasing to God, that's not taken away. Adarab, exactly the opposite. Yot called Shabbat because every Shabbos is a day that's pleasing to God. It's called a day of pleasant day. It's called mitzvah ongoing. It's a commandment to have pleasure on Shabbat from permissible things, of course. That's what it means. Yom HaKashurim HaGeula, the day that is connected with the future redemption. Hare, behold, as then Ha'et Ratzon, this day of a tiny to B'yoter say to B'yoter Oz, it is more and more powerful. As then the fast will be Yom Tov, Yom Sasan Simcha. Then the fast day will reveal its true inner content, namely a day which is happiness and rejoicing. Me'en B'dugmat, something like Kafi Shiyeh, will be in the days of the Moshiach. We'll be happy to be alive. But until Shedechia Tatainet, pushing away the fast by means of Shabbat, Notenet Koach, this gives power to push it away totally in the days of the Moshiach. Kafi Shemudgash B'miyuchad, and Tisha B'Av that falls to be on Shabbat. That when the Chiyato La'achar Shabbat, we push it after the day after Shabbat, and the Omer Rebbe said, no, hoyo v'nidche yidche. There's one opinion that says if Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, then that's it. There's no the Tisha B'Av that year. You don't fast. That's all. You just don't fast. Right? You don't fast. What about the next day? The next day is not Tisha B'Av. The next day is the 10th day of Av. You don't fast on the 10th day of Av. That's not the law. But still, the point Rebbe says that no, there's one day that's called Tisha B'Av. That's the day you're supposed to fast and be miserable and feel bad that the temple was destroyed. If that day falls on Shabbat, then Shabbat negates it. That's it. It's negated. Since the hoil, the nidche is pushed off, yidche, so it's pushed off totally. So it should be that it'll be pushed off not just this year until the next Tisha B'Av rolls around next year, and it's not on Shabbat, but it should be pushed away totally and completely. So if so, this terrible Holocaust times 5 will be revealed that it is joy and blessing times 10. Greater than any blessing we could possibly imagine, greater than any joy that we can possibly conceive of, that we've ever experienced. Yesh Lomar, we can say that this is also found in the Suda, in the meal of Tisha B'Av that falls on Shabbat. Shekain, but Tisha B'Av and Tisha B'Av, there is a revelation of the birth of Mashiach. What did we say before? It says in the Midrash that on Tisha B'Av the Mashiach is born. Ubafrat, especially after midday, in the prayer time when we pray Mincha. That's when we say this prayer of Nachem. God should comfort us. It says that's when Mashiach is born, after midday, on Tisha B'Av. Ubafrat, and especially Suda Mafsekas, especially Suda Mafsekas. Now that he's born, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that that's his birthday. There was a story, I was very impressed by the story, that this is a long while ago. This must have been like in the 1970s or whatever. And the Rebbe had a lot of secretaries, and one of them was a very faithful secretary, and his name was Rabbi Groner, Label Groner, a blessed memory. And he once went to the Rebbe talks about Mashiach and Mashiach and Mashiach. And he said, the Hasidim say that you're the Mashiach. And it seems that the Rambam also says that you're Mashiach. Look in the Rambam, it says that you have the qualities of Mashiach. Why don't you tell them that you're Mashiach? So the Rebbe said Mashiach has to hear from God that he is the Mashiach, and God did not tell me yet. That's what the Rebbe said. God did not tell me yet. So that could be what's referred to as being the birthday of the Mashiach. Not necessarily that was his physical birthday. And it just could be, what is a birthday after all? What is a birthday? The child is already there. The child is completely whole. He's already finished. He just comes out from the womb into the world. Right? He just comes out and he starts breathing. The same thing with Mashiach. He's already there. He just has to be revealed in the world. So it says Tisha B'Av is the day that the Mashiach is revealed in the world. And it could be like a baby that he's revealed in the world to who? To the doctors and to the people, immediate in the hospital room. But he's not revealed to the whole world. I mean, who knows about it? Even the father that's in the waiting room, he doesn't know about it. They have to come and say, congratulations. So it could be that's the idea of Mashiach is born on that ninth day. Mashiach receives the message that he is supposed to be Mashiach and reveal to the world. Okay, anyway, you can explain it however you want to. Mashiach has to come, and it says the Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. So, but we don't feel it. Exactly the opposite. What do we feel? We feel Mashiach. We feel the opposite. We feel that's the day that the exile really began. The temple was destroyed. The Jews got scattered all over the place. Ubafran, and especially, it says, therefore it's stressed, and when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, that stressed the idea that the Mashiach can come on Tisha B'Av. Ubafran, and especially Basuva Mavsekas, and especially the last meal. Basuda Shlish is the third meal. Ki Basuda Shlish is because that's just like right before Tisha B'Av. I mean, the fast begins. The fast will begin on years like that on the 10th of them. And the third meal of every Shabbat, this is attached with the meal which is going to be in the future. Sudat Leviatan, the meal which is going to be that all of the tzaddikim are going to eat this big fish and this big ox and drinking what's called the wine which was preserved from 6 days of creation. This is a physical meal. Nevertheless, this will be a Suda Shlishit, will be the meal right before the fast actually starts. And that's the Shabbat Tisha B'Av. That's when Mashiach is born. Yesh Lomar, we can say even more than this. So fine, maybe we can do it. Okay. Yesh Lomar, we can say even more. Shekasher, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, the fast is pushed off to the 10th day. So there is something like I'm sorry. The 9th and the 10th day of Tishrei. What's the 9th and the 10th day of Tishrei? The 10th day of Tishrei is Yom Kippur. And the 9th day of Tishrei is the day before Yom Kippur. It says you're supposed to eat a lot. There's some opinions that say that you're supposed to fast for 2 days. It says, B'tisha v'chodesh, the Erev mi'erev, it says in the Torah that on the 9th day of Tishrei, in the evening, you're supposed to fast. What does this mean, the 9th day in the evening? Maybe it means the 9th day that brings in the 9th day. So it says, maybe the Torah is hinting at that you're supposed to fast 2 days in a row. It says clearly on the 9th day, you're supposed to fast. It says, no, what that means is you're supposed to eat on the 9th day, and that is treated as though it's the 10th day. Erev Yom Kippurim, Yom Kippurim. Like the rabbis say, Kol ha'ochel, to anyone who eats on the 9th day, it is treated as though he has fasted on the 9th day as well. And let's the connection between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Both of these days are fast days. Shekulam are b'divrei Kabbalah, but the fast day of Yom Kippur is from the Torah, and the fast day of Tisha B'Av is only from the rabbis. All of the fasts, all of them come from the rabbis. They have a connection. And there's something like the fast day of Yom Kippur. Why? The fast day of Yom Kippur, that comes from the Torah. Like it's known that all of the fasts of the rabbis, and that all the commandments that the rabbis make, they make them something like Torah commandments. Until that they're drawn down from the commandments of the Torah. Right, like it says, like the lighting of the candles of Chanukah, something like the lighting of the candles in the Holy Temple. They make it something similar. It's almost among these 4 fasts that the rabbis made. Right, there's 4 fasts that we made. They're connected to the destruction of the temple. One we just had was the 19th day of Tammuz, and now we're going to have another one, Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is one of the 4 fasts that the rabbis made up, but Tisha B'Av is the most similar to Yom Kippur because it's one full day. All the others are just half days. You fast from the morning. Ein bein Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur, etc., except for Tisha B'Av. It says you can ride your car. It's not like Shabbat. Tisha B'Av Leila Kiyomo called Dvar. It says the fast of Tisha B'Av, the night is like the day. Bein Moshiach Shalo Aser Yom Kippurim. And right before, it's just like Yom Kippur, a few minutes before, you're not allowed to eat also, like in both of them. Shouldn't leave it to the last minute, eat until the last minute. Also on Yom Kippur and also on Tisha B'Av. B'frat, and according to what the rabbis say, Shemashavim, that they equate the day of the 15th day of Av, that the 15th day of Av, then the moon is filled, and it was a very happy day. That was a day when they would make matches between men and women. Shaboka Tikkun, this comes to fix up the things that happened on Tisha B'Av, the bad things. That was also the day, the 15th day of Av, when they stopped dying in the desert, the Jews when they wandered 40 years. And there was no more decree that people would die. It says every year they would die on Tisha B'Av when they were in the desert. They equate that with Yom Kippur. Loya Yomim Tovim. It says that there was no happier days for the Jewish people than Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, the high priest would come out. Everybody would be happy. Would come out of the Holy of Holies. But Pnimiyut Inyan, the greatness of Tisha B'Av, the fast day, namely that it's the day of the birth of the Moshiach, that now we're in exile. This is concealed. But this is expressed in a revealed way in the 15th day of Av, when the moon is full. So this, in other words, what's the Rebbe saying? Tisha B'Av is a full day fast, just like Yom Kippur. But Tisha B'Av is a good day. It's a good day. It's a day the Moshiach was born. But that good is only revealed 6 days later in the 15th day of Av. It says in the desert, that was the year, the 40th year, they wandered in the desert when the people stopped dying. That was good. That was the day when they made matches between young couples. Good. That's the day that revealed the good of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av was when Moshiach was born. On the 15th day of Av, that's when that good is revealed, when the moon is full. David Malchut, that's the idea of King David, the King Moshiach. Like we say in Kiddush Levana, and we say, David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayom. After the moon gets full, the moon, after the tremendous descent and the hiding of the moon, and especially the tremendous descent and the hiding of the Jewish people on Tisha B'Av in the time of exile. That in this, why was the destruction? Why? In order that it should come the lion, which is God, in the Mazel Aryeh, which is the month of Av, and build the Ariel, which is the third temple. This is something like the revelation that is on Shabbat of Tisha B'Av. When we're found Shabbat, Tisha B'Av, all there is just the good. That's the idea of the birth of Moshiach, Tisha B'Av. So again, just not to get confused, what's the Rebbe trying to say? There's all these bad, terrible things, which are especially rolled up into Tisha B'Av, and all the good things, which are concealed in Tisha B'Av, that come to be revealed. Namely, in the 15th day of Av, what's the good in Tisha B'Av? That Mashiach is born. And therefore, it says that there was no better holidays, happy days for the Jewish people than the 15th day of Av, because of the great revelation of the 15th day of Av, that then there shines something like this revelation of the connection between the Jewish people and the third temple. Therefore, we say, because that's what Mashiach is going to do. On Tisha B'Av, the temple was destroyed. Mashiach is going to build a third temple. That's going to be very happy. Therefore, we equate the greatness of the holiday of 15th day of with Yom Kippur, which is neighborhood. Both of them are one. Yom Kippur, this is connected to the level of Yechida. Remember, on Yom Kippur, that's when they received the second tablets. Yom Kippur, that's when the high priest goes into the Holy of Holies. That's the level of Yechida, the fifth level. There's 5 prayers also on Yom Kippur. 5 prayers. We go up to the highest is Ne'ilah. That's the level of Mashiach. There's 5 levels to the soul, and there's 5 prayers on Yom Kippur. Right? We pray the evening prayer, and then 2 prayers in the daytime, and then the Mincha prayer, that's 4, and then Ne'ilah, that's 5th prayer. That's the level of Mashiach. Mashiach is the 5th level. Yechida. This has caused the elevation of Malchut in the inside of this level, which is called Atik, so to speak, the essence of God. This is going to be in the future. It's going to be real in the future. Okay. And to add on, that the end of these 7 weeks of comfort, which start the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, 7 comforting haftorahs that we read. When do these 7 weeks end after Tisha B'Av? On Rosh Hashanah. And since the Tisha B'Av until Rosh Hashanah is 7 weeks, that's the completion up to Rosh Hashanah. And what's the completion of Rosh Hashanah? Right? We sound the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. That's sort of arousing God, but the revelation comes on Yom Kippur. That's Rosh Hashanah is revealed in an inner way on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, this is the day of the marriage of God with the Jewish people when the second tablet's received. This is the end, the last days of when Moses was on the Mount Sinai the 3rd time. So that it began on Rosh Chodesh Elul, and 40 days later, Moses came down with the first tablets. That was on, again. Moses went up the 3rd time, Mount Sinai, on Rosh Chodesh Elul. And he came down 40 days later on Yom Kippur. This is also corresponding to the 40 days that Moses was on Mount Sinai the second time. Moses went up on Mount Sinai 3 times. Each time he stayed for 40 days. The first time he went up was the holiday of Shavuot, and he came down on Yud Zayin Tammuz and he broke the tablets. He went up immediately afterwards on Yud Zayin Tammuz, and he went up there to the Rosh Chodesh Elul. And practically speaking, Moses fasted 120 days. Kol including the Tisha B'Av and Tu B'Av. Right, the second time he went up, according to what we said before, that on Shabbat Tisha B'Av is revealed the good, the inside, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. So all of this good of Tisha B'Av, Moshiach is born, etc., is revealed. Because Shabbat, on those times when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, we're happy and we eat. This is like transforming the bad to good and joy, to holidays and the future redemption. So we'll come out that Tisha B'Av itself is something like the revelation of Yom Kippur, when the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies and bring forgiveness for all the Jewish people. And that was also when Moses came down the third time with the second tablets. The Jewish people were forgiven. Only in the time of exile, this is concealed. And in Tisha B'Av, when it comes on Shabbos, it'll be revealed. That's when it's revealed. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. So we learned, don't give up any second. The worst of the worst is going to transform to the best of the best. Now let's do, 1 second.